What is up, everybody? We are back for our Tuesday stream, starting it out in, I guess, the same fashion we do every week with Bitcoin here. I've got uh, a different chart pulled up than I normally do. This one's kind of, I took out all the fancy moving averages, I took out all the levels, got right back down to the basics, um, just because I've seen a lot of talk today. Um, about the importance of the $30,000 level. A lot of panic, a lot of people thinking, we broke 30,000, it's over. It's I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've seen targets, for $10,000. I've seen them for, some more realistic targets. And again, I'm not here to tell you that Bitcoin cannot go down further, but I do. Personal opinion, my sentiment hasn't changed, and that's why I brought up this chart in particular here. Um, this is the Binance chart for Bitcoin, right? And a lot of people have been posting how we breached the $30,000 level on a lot of these other charts here. If you look, this initial swing low that we had off the retracement on a lot of these charts, $30,000 was the bottom. But the reason why I pulled up Binance in particular is because that's where most of the trading takes place. They got the most volume out of any of the other exchanges, and I did want to point out on the Binance chart, $30,000 wasn't our swing low. If you remember back June 22nd, we had talked about, the Wyckoff accumulation, and we were looking at that dip to, about 28.8 as, what's up, Paul? Happy you made it this time. So I just want to clarify some stuff. On some of the other charts, that 28.8 was actually a lower low on our initial breakdown, right? Not on Binance. Binance and that swing low we had June 22nd that dipped down to 28.8. That is it. You've got two wicks down to it. You could call it a double bottom. I wouldn't, because we never got any candle closes down in that area. But what you should know about these wicks, especially volatile wicks like this in a downtrend, a lot of the times we'll test these lower levels, with a lot of buy pressure that, you get the wick back up, you get the spring back up, because of all the buy pressure. But a lot of the times what you're going to see is after we wick down to those areas, you will get candles, eventually making their way down there to close on a significant time scale. I'm on the daily chart right now. And I wanted to point out that 28.8 has not been breached today. And on the daily chart here, it almost looks like we're trying to get a double bottom on the daily, right at about $30,000, that critical zone that everybody's talking about us breaching today. We haven't closed on the daily yet, even on, I'm going to exit all this stuff out of here. Even on the daily chart on Bitstamp, Coinbase, we haven't closed down there yet. We have not closed below $30,000, and that's significant. And we still have another about 54 minutes before that would take place. So again, I'm not saying, that we're not going to dip lower. I don't predict the future. I'm just going with the technicals. And if you go with the technicals, we have not made a lower low, at least not a lower wick low. We've been making these lower candle lows inside of this range that we've been trading inside of for, all the way back to, I think, May 19th was the first day we touched into this range and created that low at 28.8. Traders set it up. If you look back here, January 22nd, we had a wick low back there again. But not only have we gotten these wick lows here, if you go to the monthly chart on Bitcoin, that is also a major support and resistance zone that we've, you see these are the two wicks we were talking about before. We've actually got two of them on the monthly on the monthly chart, June 1st, May 1st, and now on the daily, we had that one on June 22nd. So before you start looking at lower price levels, Bitcoin still has to make a move lower. We haven't done it yet. And that's important because, I've been talking to, on the stream about the fact that, there's still a lot of accumulation taking place. On-chain data, it shows it. It's just day after day after day of accumulation, and this abnormal price movement that we've been looking at, it's not following technicals a lot of the times, and when it does, it underperforms. And what had me worried initially on this last move down is, we were moving in between the range nicely. The only context we've had between the bottom and the top of the range is straight up, straight down, straight up. And same thing once we got over here on May 18th. We've just, generally speaking, we were going from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. And then we had this partial rise. Now, a partial rise, especially if you make it back down to the bottom of the range, that is a bearish indicator that we are going to test lower levels. But the issue and an important part of this is if there was somebody, an entity, whales, whatever you want to call it, trying to keep this price down, but inside the range, it hasn't been invalidated yet. We haven't made a move lower. Technically, there is no technical damage done to this range yet. Now, if we do break below that range that we've been in, then you're going to open up the door, to about 26,000 at this. You've got this resistance back here from December 27th. That would be an area I would watch. And again, I know we've got a CME futures gap at like 24.5. And if you look back here to December 18th, again, we had some resistance before we broke above that zone back in December as well. But again, these are all scenarios that you cannot, you can't put money on. The same way that the same way that you couldn't put a long position at the top of the range expecting the price movement to break above it without a confirmation, you can't do it at the bottom. At the bottom of the range, this is the lowest risk area that we have inside of this range where we're at right now. Granted, if you were going to take a long position here at this time, obviously you would want to protect yourself. You would want to have stop losses set, whether it's under 28.8 or maybe under some of these wicks back here. January 5th, it looks like we've got a couple wicks just under or just above 28,000. That would be an area that I would consider setting a stop loss if I was taking a long position here. But again, I'm still in my position from our June 22nd low back here. I took a position around 29 and change. And as of right now, that's still up. And again, this is the lowest risk area for a long position, which would mean that this is the highest risk area for short sellers. And the reason why I bring that up is because of the fact, until this zone is breached, you're not going to see short sellers, loading into this area because you could very well get, a higher low here. We have not, if you look here, anything above 28.8 is still going to be considered a higher low. And if you look on the lower time frames here, I've got the 4-hour chart brought up. I think I was taking a look at this earlier. Let me see. well, maybe it was here on the daily. I did want to point out also on the daily, if we made a move anywhere up from 28.8, you would be confirming bullish divergence on the MACD, because we were not able to make lower levels of negative momentum yet. Again, that could change. I'm just reading the data that we have at this point, and it's important to stick with the data that we have at this point, because just as easy can just as easily can you misinterpret moves on the upside to the downside as well. And you also have to think about psychology. I was reading something earlier today that there was a wallet, on-chain data showed that a wallet dumped, I think it was about $2.5 billion of Bitcoin on Coinbase, not over the counter, not, they weren't trying to hide it. It was deliberately dumped on Coinbase, which, if you know anything about transactions of that size, if you wanted to get the most for your money, you wouldn't do it on Coinbase. You wouldn't do it on a public exchange, because ultimately, as you're unloading all that entire position, you're going to drive the price down, and you're going to get a worse price for your position. And my thought process behind that, again, this is just my personal thoughts, not trading advice by any means, but you would think, why would somebody do that if they were trying to get the most for their money? Why would you unload $2.5 billion of Bitcoin at the bottom of the range, the highest risk area that we've had for going on 2 months now? The only reason you would do that, in my opinion personally, is that you're intentionally trying to keep this price down. You're trying to keep us inside this range, on the lower end of the range, no less, and to accumulate a bigger position, or at a lower price. If you dumped it up here and purposely drove that price down a little bit further, you might be able to pick up, Bitcoin at a sale, on sale. If I could talk today, that would really help us out here. But again, my point being here is, until we get confirmation on a larger time scale of a move underneath 28.8, there's no technical damage. So anyone accumulating, they haven't driven us outside of the trading range that we've been in. And again, I've pulled up charts. We've had, I think it was the first one. This is a chart I made up when we initially broke down to our lows around $30,000 in the middle of May. We got this deep crab. It's a bullish harmonic pattern that formed off of our retracement back here from February. And this has not been invalidated either. Now, granted, to keep the bullish sentiment behind this harmonic pattern, you wouldn't want to see it close below 30,000. And if it closed right at $30,000 or above, you would get your official confirmation low of that structure. We've looked at a similar chart. If you're a Forex trader, this is also a white swan. You could look at it. I pointed out the bullish dragon scenario, where we broke the supply line coming down off of our top here, and now I'm starting to clutter it right back up. But let's look at it like this, right? This would be the bullish dragon. This would be the head, that first low we got coming off the all-time highs. And then ultimately, these two lows would have been your feet and your spine, and this would be the tail. Now, the tail, to confirm this structure, you would want to see it break above the hump, which would be $40,000, $40,500. And then you would ultimately come up and test somewhere from the 618 to the 886 on the retrace back up. None of that stuff's confirmed. Ultimately, I'm just trying to analyze the data in as many different ways as I can, without getting a bias edge towards what's going on. And I did want to take a look at Bitcoin dominance, which again, Bitcoin dominance has been going up since May 18th, which was our initial low. You could argue we've got, this ascending triangle going on here with dominance. And ultimately, this rising is an indication that more money is coming into Bitcoin than into altcoins, or maybe money is being drained out of altcoins into Bitcoin. But the takeaway here is you've got this low from May 18th. You've got your second low at June 8th. And now you've got almost a partial decline. We weren't able to bring Bitcoin dominance down to our trend line back here on July 8th. And since then, we've still been making higher lows on the dominance chart. And another thing I've been bringing up to our group on Facebook and our Discord is the B word tomorrow. And that is, if you guys see this here, this is an event that ARK is throwing tomorrow. They've got featured speaker Elon Musk, Cathie Wood, Jack Dorsey, John Newberry, Adam Back, Lynn Alden, and Nick Carter. This is tomorrow at 9 a.m. And there's a lot of stuff floating around about the correlation between these characters in this space, right? I brought it up weeks ago, whenever it was, kind of a tinfoil theory I've got on their relationship, right? Cathie Wood is one of the biggest investors there is in Elon Musk, in Tesla, and she's a big investor in Bitcoin as well. And a lot of her focus has been on solar energy and innovation, and who else other than Elon Musk to put your money on, to place your bet on. And the big thing, since the initial dump with Bitcoin has been the fact that everyone's blaming Elon Musk. He crashed the market. He's not accepting Bitcoin for Tesla anymore. And his reasoning behind that was he wanted to see over 50% of all Bitcoin mining be done with a renewable energy, which has sparked so much innovation in the space. People rushing to begin, switching over to renewable energy when it comes to Bitcoin mining. You've got El Salvador doing volcanic mining. You've got Canada doing hydro mining. You've got Miami talking about nuclear mining. And obviously, if you connect the dots between green Bitcoin mining and Elon Musk, well, Elon Musk manufactures, solar roofs, solar panels. Tesla is all about renewable energy, and they have the resources to do something that would bring almost a monetization of Bitcoin mining and energy. Or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You could look at it as a monetization of renewable energy with the Bitcoin mining incentive. I'm not sure if you can hear my cat in the background, but I'm sorry. He's a little talkative today. And the importance there is, Tesla could incentivize, their own products with Bitcoin mining, with Doge mining. Both of these things are been hot topics with Elon Musk. It's a theory at this point, but Cathie Wood has talked about it herself. She's done some interviews talking about how, Bitcoin could be a network that basically incentivizes monetarily the entire process of renewable energy, the way they do carbon credits. You could do the same thing with renewable energy. And ultimately, if you were somebody who had, um, whether it's a Tesla solar roof, a solar farm, whatever kind of renewable energy resources you have, ultimately, there could be a complete network based off of, how am I trying to say this? You could use Bitcoin as a way, instead of, you do with carbon credits, you could sell electricity to the grid, or you could be paid to harvest green electricity yourself. Obviously in smaller increments than somebody like Tesla or a solar farm, or some of these hydro factories. But I don't want to go too much into that. I do want to have time. If you guys have anything you want me to take a look at on stream, I do want to do some ticker time before we get going tonight. But I want to highlight the importance of tomorrow's event, because while we are at the bottom of the range, when it comes to Bitcoin, not only we're at the bottom of the range, this could be a way to, it could be, the beginning of an antagonist that would drive the price up. Again, that's just a tinfoil theory, but I did want to share it because I do think, if Tesla does announce that they're going to begin accepting Bitcoin again because of the renewable energy that's being used in Bitcoin mining, they have data. Kathy Wood, Michael Saylor have all provided data that Bitcoin mining is now over 50% renewable energy. And that was the whole reason why Tesla stopped accepting it. That's changed. You're putting him in the room with Jack Dorsey, a huge proponent of Bitcoin. He is also developing a decentralized finance system application, however you want to put that, based on Bitcoin. There's so much potential for tomorrow to be an antagonist, for this price to finally start moving back up. I just think it's important. It's something to keep an eye on. And again, nobody knows which direction it's going to go. We could get sell pressure that pushes us below that level that I talked about before. But again, for me, that would be a buying opportunity. I don't believe this halvening cycle bull run is over. But that's just my personal opinion. And a lot of the on-chain data suggests the same. Just over the weekend, somebody acquired 30,000 Bitcoin, one person, in 2 days, 30,000 Bitcoin. But before I just blow through this whole hour talking about this stuff, I did want to go over the Ethereum chart as well. Same thing with Ethereum. We're still above that initial impulse down from May 23rd. We have not breached this D point on June 22nd, which is at 1698. You've got this harmonic that we pointed out on another stream here, which after a large correction like this would be considered a momentum shifting structure that did push this price to the upside. But with Bitcoin tanking just over and over again, especially this last, it's about a couple weeks now, you cannot expect anything else in the crypto market to really get its wings and get going, because again, Bitcoin is the macro. Without Bitcoin, without a clear projection of Bitcoin's direction, whether it be up or down, it's hard to really put your money reliably into anything else in the market, for that matter, because if Bitcoin sneezes, the whole rest of the market bleeds out. And it's been that way forever. I do think eventually you're going to see decoupling from it, but it's just not something that I'm very risk off right now. until Bitcoin starts to make a move, whether it is down, whether it's up. I'm kind of just sitting on my hands, especially, you also have to think about the antagonist from the rest of the market. We did have a lot of down pressure Monday across the board, every market, it doesn't matter what you're in. For the most part, everything was down. And stocks did get a nice relief today. So again, you got to wonder which one's first. Will we see, with stocks getting a relief, will we see Bitcoin follow? I'd like to think so. But again, just taking the data as we get it. And Ethereum, same thing. If Bitcoin starts to make a move up, you could very well see the same thing from Ethereum. And the only context we have between the bottom and the top of this range is straight up, straight down, and then we had the same partial rise on Ethereum. But if you want to look at it in the context of this harmonic structure here, this would be your confirmation low. If we get a double bottom here, if we do get a confirmation low here, and if we start to lose negative momentum on the MACD, you would also get, we had this bullish divergence here. And if we do get a reversal on Ethereum and start losing negative momentum here, you would get bullish divergence on the MACD and quite possibly on the RSI too, on the daily chart. On the 4-hour, I believe, on the 4-hour, it's already in development, right? Still making lower lows on the price. You got this low here, you got a low here, but you're losing negative momentum still. And you did have this piercing line reversal on Ethereum at about 1725. Not a ton of follow through, but with Bitcoin, in the indecision that Bitcoin is having right now, you can't expect a lot. Everyone's going to be, keeping an eye on Bitcoin, waiting for some, a nice confirmation, something to give traders a little bit of security in taking new positions on the long side, at least. Shorts have been having a field day. But same thing. I don't think this is a traditional harmonic here on Ethereum, but you could also look at this. This was almost a bat. You could almost, it went a little bit far, but you almost got this shark pattern here, which again, this is another indicator. At this point is when you would expect to see a reversal back to the upside. And if Bitcoin plays ball, I think you got bullish divergence maturing on the RSI, the MACD, but not a lot of follow through yet, which is disappointing. But that's something I'm going to be watching here. And same thing with Ethereum until we break below this swing low at 1698. It's still, you're still in the same structure. Nothing's been invalidated. Nothing has changed other than, a lot more fear in the market, especially with Bitcoin at the levels it is. You got about 30 minutes here on, I got the wrong chart brought up. You got about 30 minutes left till the daily close on Bitcoin. And we're still under $30,000. Again, it's not the end of the world as long as we stay above 28.8, but that would be bullish to me if we could manage to close back above that $30,000 level, because because we're close. We're right there. You know, if somebody was trying to make these charts look pretty, that would definitely be a great time to do it. But I did want to take a look at, and now that I've exhausted myself, the same old boring Bitcoin. It's been a couple months of just about nothing. So I brought up this chart a couple weeks back, and this is not the one. The DXY chart. We talked about a major move on the DXY here. Right, we were looking at this rejection trend coming down. If I zoom out here, you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. Right, I was pointing out, you know, you've had this all the way back from 2011. You had this demand line over and over again. We just kept bouncing. And then last summer, we actually broke below that after the COVID crash. And then we back tested it as resistance, and we've kind of formed this broadening wedge up until recently that we've been, you know, falling down on. And again, this is the DXY moving up is another antagonist for some of the price action we've seen, especially with Bitcoin, because if the DXY is moving up, essentially Bitcoin is valued against the US dollar, and the DXY is the US dollar currency index. So with the US dollar currency index moving up, ultimately that would be Bitcoin moving down. And we did break this support, or not this support, this supply line coming down, but we are now approaching resistance once again. The reason why I want to point this out is because if the US dollar currency index gets rejected here, that's going to be another bullish way to look at Bitcoin. This could be another antagonist for the Bitcoin price to start getting a relief, whether, you know, it's anything substantial or not. What's up, brother? And again, if you guys want me to take a look at anything, I do have about 25 minutes. I'm just kind of going through a few of the things I've been looking at, but I'd be happy to take a look at anything you guys want. But again, this is something to watch for DXY. If we do get a rejection here at this 93.3 level, and you see some follow through to the downside, you know, that could definitely be something, an antagonist for higher prices on Bitcoin. I could take a look at what's that? Unity software. I like Unity here. Somebody brought this one up the other day on stream, and this is kind of an area we were keeping an eye on between 95 and 97. You know, after this rejection up here at 114. The way I was interpreting this chart, right, we got a spring, we got a back test at 97, and then we rallied all the way up to 114. And after that rejection, you know, this was an area I was watching, you know, for this to turn around. And we're on the daily chart here, but I'm going to switch over to the 4-hour. And this is one I missed, but if you look here, you know, we were making these lows on Unity, but at the same time we were making lower lows on Unity, we were showing less negative momentum on the MACD, which would imply bullish divergence, impending price action to the upside. And that's what we got, because while we were showing this bullish divergence, we were also at this area of support. I'm going to move that up. And the same thing on the RSI. You didn't get classic. That was really, oh, arguable, right? Because you almost got the same exact low twice on the RSI while you're making substantially lower prices here on the 4-hour chart. As far as an entry on Unity, I would be cautious right now because we've got this support line back here from July 8th. And right now we are approaching that $100.68 level. Once again, you do have a wick up to it, but no follow through just yet. This is an area that, you know, traders may be taking profits. You still got room on the RSI, but again, you know, it's at this right here, it's kind of a coin flip, because you might get a rejection here. We might come back down. Kind of got trying to find some major levels underneath that we broke. You know, we never really got a back test once we broke above 97. You could even look, I mean, we might come back down, back test one of these areas of resistance that we broke, you know, maybe whether it's 98 or maybe down further to 97. And then you'd want to see a relief rally to the upside. You're still on the daily chart. I do like the fact that you're still losing negative momentum. The daily chart looks a lot better than the 4-hour chart. And ultimately that could be the chart you want to keep an eye on here, because same thing. You've got your low here, May 11th at about 78, and you got that low we just put in at 93. And if you look down here on the MACD, you've got barely, but you've got bullish convergence on the MACD. And the RSI, same thing. You know, it's not divergence, but you do have agreeable oscillators telling you that, you know, at this point, there's going to be a continuation of this uptrend. And that's positive. Like I said, maybe right here wouldn't be the best place to take a long position. You might want to look for, you know, a confirmation low, you know, find support, and then use a stop loss underneath that in case it doesn't hold up. Riot, I could take a look at. That's, you know, that's is doomsday 25,000, and when should you sell? I can't tell you when to sell. Let me take a look at Riot here quick, and I could talk about that for you, Chris. And then, as hard to believe as it is, even 25,000 would still be giving us a higher low in the bigger picture of things. So I wouldn't consider that doomsday, and I do believe if we did make it down to 25,000, which again, I'm not buying it yet until we have more information that says we're going to. I don't think it's going to be a place we're going to hang out. I don't think we're going to fall down to those levels and then, you know, do what we've been doing at this $30,000 level. I think if we do break below where we're at right now, I think it's going to be the same thing we saw when we initially broke down to this zone. You're going to see a big wick, a quick move down. You're going to have a lot of buy pressure to blow that asset right back up to where it came from. That's my opinion. It's with Riot and any other asset that moves with Bitcoin. Again, Riot isn't going to do well if Bitcoin's moving down. So I just want to throw that out there. Any of the other, you know, assets that are linked to Bitcoin in that fashion, because of, you know, especially miner stocks, you know, they're going to have a hard time performing. But I do like where Riot is at right now. This is a chart I did a while back here. Right, in the context, I'm looking at Riot. If you look back here in January, we put in this initial resistance back here. We did end up breaking above it, and we're under it right now, but we're still making, if you look back to May 19th, May 18th, I think this is the climax of the Bitcoin sell-off. Technically here on the daily, we're still, if we do reverse here, if we do reverse here and we make a move to the upside, you're still putting in a higher low here, a higher low than 2209. Now, if Bitcoin does make a move to the downside, Riot is not a stock I would want to be holding personally. I do have a position in Riot, and I've added to it a little bit down here because I do think Bitcoin's put in the bottom. Even if it does retrace lower, I'm still my bullish sentiment won't change just yet, because I don't think the price action going on right now is natural. It's hard to compare the nature of Bitcoin to a lot of other assets because it doesn't always move the same way. Bitcoin definitely works with a mean reversion algorithm. In the same way that Bitcoin's moving, you'll see assets like Riot, you'll see your SOS. Richard, I could take a look at that one for you too. They're all going to follow. They're all going to go. But Bitcoin, it's kind of its own beast, right? Because, like I said, with the price action that we've been seeing with Bitcoin, it's not natural. It's definitely being suppressed, and there's a lot of different things that factor into that. I think personally, the Elon Musk news was not the antagonist from Bitcoin dumping. If anything, again, I got my tinfoil hat on, but I really think Elon Musk kind of saw what was happening. He does run his own node. And I think that was more of his way of, giving us a heads up, because we very well could have done a lot more damage to retail and to other Bitcoin holders had he not done that. And it really accelerated the process instead of a long drawn out distribution pattern. But Riot here, before I go off on a tangent, a way you could look at Riot, I think because we're under this resistance back here from January, I think there's a real good chance that we might get one last drawdown. If we don't get any type of positive action from Bitcoin, I think we might get a further drawdown, maybe to 22, which would be at the 88.6% retrace. But not only that, you do kind of have, that would also be right here at this this candle close from January 7th. So not only would you have an 88.6% retrace, which is a deep value area. If you look down here on the RSI is just about oversold here. And you've got kind of this M structuring on the RSI too. And once you find a bottom here, you'd think that would be, it would make a lot of sense for this asset to at least get a relief rally up and to see what the bulls got. If it fell below there, it's a very choppy asset. I'd probably keep my eye down here to maybe $19 next. But again, until we fall below 20 bucks, we're still putting in a higher low here on Riot. And again, a lot of this is going to depend on Bitcoin. Same thing with SOS. SOS is another miner stock. And, you know, you see they all got this same pattern, right? Back when Bitcoin was putting in its top, these were blowing up. They were going nuts. And then right around the time that Bitcoin bottomed out, all these miner stocks bottomed out May 18th, right? That was the pinnacle of the sell-off for Bitcoin. Now, SOS has actually put in a lower low than that. We've got this lower low down here at about 228. And I'm trying to find some correlation historically with that. Now, that would be a hell of a place for SOS to reverse, right? Looking back here, May 23rd, 2019, you've got this massive, massive bottom. At the time, that was the lowest low that we had on this chart. And we are sitting right above that. Right above that 223 zone, which you can see it's been respected over and over and over again historically. And we're above that, so that's positive. I do like seeing that. If you look on, we're on the daily chart, you are well oversold. I was going to say the most you've been oversold of all time, but SOS apparently has been much, much, much more oversold. But I mean, this is the most you've been oversold all the way back to the COVID crash for SOS. On the RSI, and the same thing I like to point out is you got this M shape forming on the RSI after a deep retrace when the RSI maxed out back here on February 17th. And you've got this nice candle coming up off support. Not a whole bunch of help from the MACD, at least not on the daily. Yeah, 4-hour chart looks pretty good too. The MACD looks better on the 4-hour chart than it does on the daily, because you got from that low to the low we're at now. And then if you look down here on the MACD, same thing, much, much less negative momentum. I was going to say you almost had triple MACD bullish divergence, but not quite. So it would make a lot of sense for SOS to reverse here. Again, you were right above support. So if you were taking a position on SOS, you do have a support level to lean on. You're at the bottom of the range. And if you look at price action correlation between 413 and this 220 zone you got here, it's straight up and then straight down. So the way I would look at it is this is a really low risk area to take a position on SOS. But again, you have to keep in mind that until Bitcoin makes a move up, that kind of takes away all the security behind taking a long position here. Because even if this chart looks good, even if it makes a lot of sense for this asset to reverse to the upside here, you have to remember that if Bitcoin, even hiccups, anything associated with it, whether it's altcoins, whether it's stocks, they're all going to do the same thing. But like I said, I do like, as an antagonist to maybe a relief rally or a move to the upside further, with Bitcoin. We do have the B word tomorrow. That would be a perfect opportunity for any of these guys to, announce something like Tesla announcing that they're going to be accepting Bitcoin. That would be a perfect time to do it. Bitcoin's on sale right now. And, Elon Musk, as we all know, is a huge, he hates short sellers. So it would also be very, very satisfying for him to announce something like that when the whole world is convinced that Bitcoin's going to go down to 20,000. Which if whether or not we break below, this area we're at right now at 28.8 or not, there's going to be a lot of work to do between 28.8 and 20,000. I think those areas we were talking about earlier are probably going to be the most likely. If I could find my chart that I was on, for Bitcoin under 28, I think we would definitely make a stop around 24,000. That's also the 10-year VWAP. That's also a major, I wouldn't say major, but the best support and resistance consolidation zone we have on Bitcoin underneath 28.8. You got this little area here around 26.5. Maybe that would be the wick down if we did, and then you get the buy pressure to give us a rally up. Yeah, I hold SOS too. I as much as I've been wanting to add to it, I've been real cautious because anyone who's been in the market and who's traded stocks like Mara, like Riot, like SOS, HUT, Hive Blockchain, even your Overstock, your Tesla, they're all going to react. And that's another thing I didn't bring up. Tesla has earnings coming up. Now, if I was Elon Musk and I had earnings coming up and my Bitcoin position was going into the red right before earnings, I mean, I wouldn't be against, having that price mysteriously go up right before earnings. If he did want to release it, he's going to start accepting Bitcoin again. Again, there's just so much confluence between tomorrow and, other things going on in the space. I would like to believe, call it hopium. I'd like to believe, tomorrow is going to be something positive. But again, that's just personal. That's just my personal thought. And I think I had another Coupa Software Incorporated. Sorry, I missed that one earlier for you, brother. Earl, take a look at that one now. What does Coupa Software do? This formation looks awfully familiar. But the way I would look at this chart, just getting some weekly levels in here first. So you are kind of in this little zone here. You got resistance up at 270. You're definitely oversold. You're oversold. You're at support, and you got this nice candle coming up off that support level at 211. You did see some rejection. It looks like about 230. We move over to the 4 hour. Yeah, you got a nice piercing line reversal coming off that support level there. I like that. As long as you stay above 214, I think you might end up coming back up. You might have room to move a little bit higher here on Coupa. Geez, look how far that was oversold. Yeah, if we do keep moving to the upside, which right now on the 4 hour, you got plenty of room on the RSI. You're just now starting to put in today, your first positive momentum in the last 2 weeks. The daily chart is losing negative momentum, that's a positive thing for the price action. I'll keep an eye up here at about 240. 240, if you really get going, you might look up here to about 257, 270 again. The historical price action between 211 and 270, straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. Definitely a low risk area. The closer you can get to 215 with your order, the better, obviously, because 211 is probably where I would start getting a little bit nervous, or adding to my position. If I like the reaction there, if we come back down and break it, you're probably going to see a lot of downside to follow. NSAV. What kind of stock is that? That's something new, I see, right? High interest savings fund. I've never heard of it, but I'm literally getting no information on my chart here for NSAV. Did I pull up the wrong one here? Is there a different net savings link? This might be what you're looking for here. I can tell you what, I liked it a lot back here, right around June 22nd. The reason I say that is because you're basically sitting right at the resistance on the daily chart here. We have not been able to close above 4.5 cents yet. It's got a lot of volume. It's low volume actually for this stock. Man. Now, again, remember, I said we're right at the resistance. This stock could easily collapse back down to where it was just a few days ago, about a month ago. But just for a little bit of hopium, if it did break above that 4.5 cents resistance here, you don't really have many stops between here and some much, much higher prices. That's the type of move that could take a long time. Man, that's a hell of a wick. That's what I would keep an eye on personally. If it was me trying to play this stock, I would want to see a break above that 4.5 cent mark right there. And then, confirmation that resistance is now support. But right now, so far, all it's gotten there is rejection. Resistance is still resistance at that zone. You're kind of just floating in the middle of this range here. If you wanted to find a lower price, you might be able to lean on. I would look down here to about 3 cents. You got the spring, you're probably going to want to back test that. But I do think I'm out of time.
That's going to be a wrap for this week, guys. Drop Jameson a like. Let's go.
I appreciate it, guys.
You want it. All right.
Take that like.
I take that like. All right. Nomadic will be back next week.
Hopefully with better news.
Hopefully with better news.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right. We got a Benzinga Pro webinar up right now. Everyone stay tuned for that. Have a good week.
Thank you.